So we're right back here, and you are watching Mo Gearz, of course, and it's your boy T, still in the building. But guess what? We have a special guest here, Clifford Tardieu, the man behind the biggest car show in Trinidad and Tobago by far, V8 Boys, which is coming up last Sunday of this month, April, down at Skinner Park. And I want to welcome you to the show, Clifford. How are you going? One of the few people who will be taller than me on this show, but we're sitting down. So, Clifford.
Yep.
This car show, it's pretty special this year.
Yeah.
Tell us about your special guest.
Well, as I've been telling people on social media, and even friends and family, I say it's not just a car show. Because over the years, people would call me and say, I hear you're having a car show. So this year I'm saying it's not just a car show, it is the show. Simply because of the fact that the show is now going foreign. It's going international. How we managed to do this is that over the years, we've been doing this since 2009, but on a small scale. And for the past 3 years, I've been talking to Dennis Gage through emails and asking...
Wait. Who?
Dennis Gage.
Tell these people who Dennis is.
Dennis Gage is the host of a TV program called My Classic Car. It's a TV program that is seen across the world on 4 different cable networks. MAV TV, Velocity TV, Reven Networks, and Fox Sports.
This guy is
and Fox Sports.
Car royalty.
100 million people see this program. 100 million people. So when we talk about this show in terms of a car show, it's more than just that. We're going to present Trinidad and Tobago, not just for the old cars, because Dennis will be here not just for the show, but for 6 days before and after the show. So we're taking him around to Trinidad, show him the culture of Trinidad, show him the relationship between the old school cars, or the history of the cars and the history of our country. How is that? Every stone, every brick, every piece of plywood was moved by an old school car. So that's how our history of Trinidad and Tobago is tied up with old cars. So that without the old school, there is no new school.
Right.
So that's why this is so special, because we're taking Dennis and taking him to eat shark and bacon Maracas. We're taking him to Doubles in Pinal. We're taking him up to Manzanilla on the stretch. We're taking him to St. James to see what St. James is like. We're going to do a little mini show in Independence Square, up on the hill in San Fernando, up on City Hall in San Fernando, Grand Bazaar. We're going to hit the road. We're going to have a little blocko in front of the Magnificent Seven, the buildings that are restored, and take those antique cars and put them in front of the Magnificent Seven and take some back-in-time shots.
Huge photo
so that's our photo opportunity to make Trinidad go back in time. So when you look at KRC building, that was, I think, was made in 1904, 1907. You imagine getting a car from the 20s in front of that, or maybe the Gingerbread House, or maybe the Knowles building, or maybe Stallmeyer's Castle that should be finished restoring, So that's what we're looking at, showing the relationship between today and yesterday. And that's where Dennis Gage comes in. His program is about cherishing the old school. His tagline is, cherish the timeless classics, or honor the timeless classics. So in that case, we're trying to help the youngsters today to take a look back at what things were like when you were younger, when our parents were younger, when I was younger.
In the Flintstone cars.
So you want young people to go back in time a bit and not just look at old cars, but understand the culture behind an old car. When I say the culture behind an old car, I don't just talk about painting a car in Pomobel. I don't just talk about doing old school rims. You see,
white walls,
white writing tires. In those days, guys, grandfather, uncle, daddy, they used to make parts of their cars because money wasn't easy to come by in the 70s and 80s and the 60s. So they had to make a part. You didn't just take off the carburetor and go to the store and buy a new one. You took that carburetor apart and you took a file and you surfaced the two, and you put them together with new gaskets and new jets, and then you tuned it, That was what the old school meant to our forefathers. When you were getting in the car, don't put your foot on the seat. That don't put your foot on the center there,
Dust your foot
before you come in the car. You know, I still have older folks that come into my car, and the minute they come in my car, they're taking my mat and dusting it outside. That was the culture we grew up with. Nowadays, everything is throwaway. When I see anybody fix a shoe, when I see anybody think,
present company accepted.
So nobody fixes stuff, you know. Yeah. And the cars today are made in mind. You don't longer change a ball joint, you change the whole cradle.
Right. But you know, Clifford, this year the car show takes a particular look. You have a range of years that you want to focus on. Tell me why you selected that range of years, how you came about it.
All right. If you follow Dennis Gage, My Classic Car, he has cars from the very early inception of the automobile, from 1900s. And that's where cars came from. They came from the Model Ts. Henry Ford he made the first mass-produced car. So quite logically, you have to have a start and you have to have a stop point. And from their gauging, from their timeline, a classic car is any car over 25 years old. And an antique car is over 50 years old. Now, Trinidadians now have this thing about old school. And that term itself can be subjective. So that I grew up with 120Ys. I grew up as I was coming out of school with Sunnies. So the B11 Sunny to me was the original Wetman car. Right? That was the car that everybody used to put side drafts on, and that's where Viper alarms became popular because they were stealing them. So Still. So the old school is subjective because nowadays youngsters think a B14 is old school or AE101 Corolla is old school. So we have to have a starting point and a stopping point because we can't just go, all right, well, this car is an old school and that car is an old school. We have to have a certain area of comfort for the old school and the new school guys. And what I'm trying to help people to realize is that we want to transform Skinner Park on April the 30th to that time when afros, bell bottoms, BGs, Dennis Brown, Gregory Isaacs.
It's a bit of a cosplay event as well.
Teddy Pendergrass. That was the era that things were great. That was the end of the innocence in my book. The end of the innocence. So I want to transform us, if it's possible, for 8 hours, one beautiful day.
Great. So this show this year, last year, of course, you'll be watching some footage while we are doing this interview. You'll see some of the background footage with images from last year's show. Give me a evolution between last year and this year. How did that show close and this one building now? Just a few days away almost.
My tagline, my selling point, if you want to call it that, for this show has always been a giveaway car. I've been giving away cars since 2009. So far I've given away 8 cars, right? Every year there's a car. Last year there were 2 cars. How I did it, I don't know. Because I went and I traded some work for the Zephyr. That was worth $18,000 when I bought it. And then the Sunny, I had bought the Sunny for myself a year before, and I sat down and waited. And then somebody donated the engine for the Sunny. So I said, you know something? I want to give away 2 cars. A car that represented the old school back in the 50s and 60s, and a car that represented the new school, old school, from the Sunny era. So we got a turbocharged engine in the Sunny, and we got a original engine in the Zephyr. So we gave away 2 cars. So the tagline was, come walking, leave driving. So 2 people literally came walking and they went home driving. 2 complete strangers. That was my thing up to last year. I will have a giveaway car this year. Always will have a giveaway. I love building cars. I love seeing the crowd just watch their ticket, you know. Everybody's looking to see if they get to win the car. And it always warms my heart when a young person wins the car. You know, someone who doesn't have a car, hopefully, you know, rather than somebody who has about 5. You know, so
but you do restorations as well.
Everything.
So this is something that it's not just an opportunity to showcase your work or your enthusiasm, but you know, give us a example of what's a typical V8 car boy.
Well, to be honest, when we started the V8 Club, which is where I started with a few guys, we started as just 3 or 4 guys. We go to the mall, we go to movie town, and then the 3 go into 5, the 5 go into 8, and then we decided we had to have a club. And at that time, there weren't always V8s around. Guys with Cortinas, guys with Minis, guys with Sunnies, guys with 120Ys. So we had to figure out, what are we going to call this thing? We were not going to call it V8 Club initially, but eventually we decided, look, it was V8 guys who started it. But we couldn't have only V8s attend the show. I said it was not possible to have something with only one type. You have a show with V8s, you're going to bus only. If you have a show with only old school, you're going to bus. If you have a show with only RX, you're going to bus. So you have to incorporate them. So the V8 boys over the years, for me at least, has been inclusivity, has been embracing all the different generations of cars, even up to the present generation. So that in our show, you'll have drift cars, you'll have race cars, you will have stance cars, you will have some quality show cars as early as 8 to 10 years old, but you will have the majority, the core group is always classic, always 50 and 25-year-old cars, always.
You know, my dad, when I was growing up as a kid, he had a Vauxhall Victor.
Oh, man.
And he traded that. He sold my eldest brother, Anthony, sold it, I think it was $5,000 or something like that. Just like around the early 80s.
Right.
And then he picked up a 1978 Cadillac Eldorado. It's the biggest car you would ever.
It's huge.
Huge.
It's huge.
It was slow. It was slow, and it used to burn real gas.
Yeah.
But my God, one of the most beautiful cars. Yeah. Really lovely car.
Yeah.
You know, and then he sold it. He told me I'd have it, but
there's always a chance. The thing is that because of the limited amount of cars we have in this country, because of our importation laws, because of our importation laws, we can never replenish what we lose. So every year, some old school cars get crushed or dumped because it can't come back. So the numbers are dwindling slowly but surely. So that means the prices of these cars are going up. When as you see an old Cortina for sale, Cortinas were given away for $2,000, $3,000, $5,000. Now they're going for $25,000, $30,000. Mark 1 Cortinas for $75,000. Imagine that. An Escort for $40,000, $50,000. You would get something that's not.
What's your dream car? If you had an unlimited budget,
well,
what would you drop that money on?
I've never been one to have one specific car. You see?
Today you got to have that one.
No, man. I'll have one woman, but several. I'll have one woman, but several cars. No, that's how I am. I always say, if you're married,
all right, give me your top 3 cars.
If you're married, you have one woman. You could have several cars.
Top 3.
Mustangs for one.
Okay.
Something from the 50s, perhaps something with wings or fins. And then on the performance side, I would slowly go towards something that I grew up with, which was RX2s. I grew up with RX2s. I remember when they used to go down the road and hear them on kerosene. They actually could run on kerosene. Am I lying?
No.
They could run on kerosene. So that was the kind of car that I grew up idolizing. So
back
now,
in the 80s, regular gas wasn't far off. Ansel, top 3.
67 Chevy pickup. 4.8 big blow. 20-inch long
Right. I see you put some thought into this there.
Yeah, with grain tray and everything.
Okay. All right.
Shelby Mustang. The second one. And performance-wise, I did a little bit.
A little
retreat to the tree.
Yeah.
I had a 1994 Skoda Felicia hatchback. That would be my best car. Love that car. I'm going to get my car back. Hey, dude. I don't tell you nothing about what you like. All right. So, Clifford, give me some ideas.
What to expect?
Yeah, what to expect.
What you expect? What you expect is that Hott 93 is going to ramp this thing up. I am also going to encourage people to come out and support this show because, as I said, we're putting Trinidad on a pedestal. We're bringing Trinidad and Tobago to the world. So, I would say, think about what you want to get out of the show, but also think about what you could add to the show. We would like good behavior,
Right.
right? There's no alcohol selling. We'd appreciate that the guys stick to our parking arrangements, because like how guys park in a car park, a 280ZX here, a Rotary here, a 1950s car here, a Mustang here. It looks like pale out, it looks nice to the eyes in a car park. But with Dennis Gage and my classic car, the cars have to be parked according to make, model, and era. So you won't see a 1960s Volkswagen next to a 120Y. You will not be looking through a shot and see an Almira in the background. So it's got to be period correct. That's because this is the name of the show that's coming to Trinidad and Tobago. My classic car.
Best behavior.
Well, we're going to try for best behavior. We just want people to enjoy what things were like back in the day. The music will be at a certain level, so you don't have to shout to the top of your lungs. We've had Skinner Park since 2009. We've behaved well. We've never had a problem for noise. So we want to keep it at a certain level. I always say there's a time and a place for everything. Getting on wild and burning out and wheeling is not the time and place at a car show. We have kids, we have families, we have little toddlers running around. This year I'll have a little train traveling around at 5 miles an hour with little cars and carrying kids around. We'll have bouncy castles, we'll have kids playing and learning.
Fun family
Lots
day.
of fun family day, you know.
One final question for you. How hot you think Dennis could handle the pepper and the double?
Boy, I was thinking about that one. Because I initially was thinking that when he comes out of the airplane, I'm going to take him a Rima by the dial, and I might stop by
Kind of
Wait. We're not going to eat doubles. Not going to eat doubles.
Okay.
We're taking him.
Rima double?
We're going to take him the Rima doubles. We take him by the dial and come down the main road, stop off at Exodus Panyard, show him some pan, stop off in Crepe, look at sauce doubles, and then maybe after the show introduce him to pepper.
Yeah,
We don't
want to freeze about one time.
we don't want to hijack the show.
Yeah. Next thing you know, Dennis never leave the hotel. Anyhow, that was Clifford Tardieu, and y'all could check that show out. It's coming up at the end of the month down at Skinner Park. Check it out. We'll have some links in the show notes. You gotta see this show.